What's up, everybody? This is Kyle Plum. Thank you so much for watching this solar growth clip from the Solar Growth Podcast and my interviews with solar professionals. I greatly appreciate it. If you're watching this, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate every new subscriber I get, and it helps me to create more content and grow myself in solar, as well as help as many solar professionals grow in solar as well, so that we can make this industry a much better industry that's going to have a much bigger impact. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
Get nervous.
No, okay. So we are recording. So if you were nervous before, now you can really be nervous. No, you don't get nervous. Do you really?
Nope. Not
on camera. He's like, so today I'm talking with Jake Hess. Jake is a solar rock star, one of the best people in the industry. I've been trying to get him on to talk to me for months, if not. I'll just say months to be conservative. I know you're in a hotel right now because you're here in Utah researching stuff for SolarCon. Is that right?
Yeah, we came out here. There's a lot of people out here for Door-to-Door Con as well. And,
Oh, yeah. Is that this weekend?
Yeah, starts today. They have a basketball tournament and award ceremony. So we came out to bump shoulders with some of the greats and meet some of the new people in the industry and also do research for SolarCon. Awesome.
Is this is SolarCon? What's the date for SolarCon? Just for anyone who's never heard of it yet.
It's April 21st, 22nd, and 23rd.
Okay, so April 21st, SolarCon. Have you ever planned a convention before?
I have not. However, everyone on my team has. So we have some great people. Actually, one of the guys that built Door-to-Door Con is on our team. And I have some good mentors like Hunter Ballou, who does RoofCon and put that on. He's been helping me out a lot as well. So very thankful for everyone that's coming to speak. It seems like everyone kind of banded together to kind of make this happen for us, and I can't be more thankful than I am. It's just overwhelming how much everyone came together for this, and I'm really enjoying it and excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's something that you see it across the board in all industries, which is like conventions that are industry specific. And similarly, another thing you're doing, like the Solar Academy, like training and teaching and coaching, that's industry specific. And solar is kind of, I don't know if it's because it's new or just because everyone's so focused on selling that like there hasn't really been that kind of infrastructure and central place in the solar industry. But it seems really, it's a really great idea, and I'm glad that you're creating it. With that, like what has surprised you the most about kind of moving towards running a convention that maybe you weren't used to? Because obviously you're a solar guy, you're a sales guy, you're a marketing guy, you're a teaching guy, but I assume that kind of planning a convention probably has a lot of challenges that surprised you.
It definitely does, but we have a voting system on our team. I know that I'm right 100% of the time, but I get voted against quite frequently. So I guess that makes me not right. Without my team, I couldn't do this. And if we did it my way, we would have failed. It really is a team effort. It's just phenomenal what these guys are capable of, and what they come up with. And I can't be more grateful for them. It's not necessarily me throwing the event. It's not Solar Joe. It's our team that's doing it. And with all of their experience and expertise, Joe and I are learning as well. And I would
Solar Joe.
I would even go as far to say is, it's not, we have a team that's working on it all the time, but some of the owners of Titan, David Williamson, Chrissy Coonrod, they're actually doing a lot on their side to help us as well. Dustin Mansell, Felice Garcia, Casey Lopez. I can't tell you all of the people, Chelsea Elise, I can't tell you how many people are coming together that are not necessarily literally on our team, but that are part of our team to make this happen. And that's why it's becoming successful, is because, like I mentioned before, everyone's banding together to make this event work for the industry. It's not for us. It's not for the Solar Academy. It's literally for the industry.
Yeah, and I think there needs to be more of that kind of collaboration between different companies and even if you're in a different lane than somebody else or doing something slightly different. I think partnering together is ultimately how we make the industry grow, and put more focus on the good companies and not the bad companies.
Yeah.
Sorry, I apologize. So as always, my son's yelling somewhere in the background. So if he does, hopefully he doesn't come and open the door and barge in. But tell me about what was he? Yeah, I mean, he'll be fun. He's been on. I've interviewed, like, I sat him here before and I interviewed him on my podcast. Like, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And he started trying to eat my microphone. So
sometimes when I'm doing Zoom calls, my little guy runs up and I try to make this part of me not move. Mm-hmm. I'm like trying to navigate him and stop him from coming on camera. And then all of a sudden, there he is right here. I'm like, that's my son.
Awesome. What is, how old is your son?
He's 4.5.
4.5. What did you find? Because I guess my main question for you is, how long have you been in solar? How long, and for when he was born, where were you at compared to where you are now?
Oh man, that's going to open up some regrets. I started solar in 2013. I was a little solar slut and I went and tried a whole bunch of different companies. I originally went to Vivint Solar, then Solar City, which turned to Tesla, and then, got Pack Energy, who I learned so much from. His name is Rob Casal. He's actually going to be speaking at SolarCon as well. I learned from him. I learned from Ben Mack. So in 2016 is when I started Helio Gold. In 2017 is when I had my son. And this is one of my biggest regrets in life. I convinced myself, might get a little emotional on this one. I convinced myself that building a business and making sure it was successful was actually for my son. I wanted to give him, like most people say, I wanted to give him the life that I never had. I wanted to provide for him. I want him to have the best life. And for me at the time, I thought that meant that I had to go and make a successful business and get all the money I could to provide that. But, with the house we have and the toys he has and all the passes we have to Disneyland and SeaWorld and all these things, it's like, it doesn't matter if I'm not there. Right. When the day he was born, I left the hospital to go work. And for the first 2 years, his mom stepped up pretty heavily and watched him. And I justified that by, paying her, so I didn't have to get a nanny. I paid her to take care of him majority of the time. And I looking back on it, I really miss the first 2 years of my kid's life in the name of trying to provide for him. And it's disgusting. Honestly, it's not the answer. The right answer is to be there for your kid. And I wish I knew that sooner.
Yeah, I think it's
hard to take the combo weight down like that.
No, it's all good. That's kind of, not what I was, wasn't really what I was shooting for with that kind of question. But I think one of the things is, I think it's good that you brought that up, because I think that's something that a lot of people, number one, it's not easy to talk about. And for that reason, a lot of people struggle with it, and maybe they think the problem that they have is more unique than what other people have, especially as anyone in sales is like having a baby. I mean, you're running a business is like having your own baby, and it's kind of finding that work-life balance is probably, I'm kind of of the belief that I don't really know if there's such a thing as like work-life balance, like it ever is going to be perfect, but I think you have to be aware of it so that you can make sure you're giving the energy where it needs to be. And obviously money does help with that, but at the same time, the time that you invest in your business, that time, you're never gonna get that time back. And with kids, they grow up so fast. I can't believe how fast my two are. My 4-month-old. My 4-month-old, who was born in September, he is like in the 99th percentile. He's like a giant. Like, I think he's gonna be bigger than me within a year. But it's crazy how fast they grow, and also not even how fast they grow, but just how, when you have a kid, time seems to start like ramping up and speeding by faster and faster.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So tell us about Helio Gold, because that's a business that you're no longer a part of, right? So that was your when you went in the industry, you were in solar, you learned from a bunch of different people, a bunch of different businesses, and you kind of went out and you created your own thing. Mm-hmm. What was that What were you ready for that? Was that something that you kind of just figured out on the fly? Like, tell us about that experience of running Helio Gold.
Helio Gold has been recognized by a lot of people in the country as being the first broker model that didn't have to work for an organization that could carry multiple different brands and use different contractors to make sure that we would never tell the homeowner no, or this product is better than that one. We wanted to become completely unbiased and genuinely find what the homeowner wanted. I found it is accredited for being the first, but it literally is not. I copied other people. Rob Cassell, the one I mentioned, he built a beautiful model. I just had a unique ability to recruit and build culture faster and stronger than most. So it was his model that I took, and others had been doing it. I think I just made it very successful earlier on, and that's why it took off. I think it's the systems and processes that we built in the sales side that are unique. Most sales organizations don't build what we did. They just want to point fingers at the installer and say, hey, that's their job, they should do it. But I was tired of that battle. So I heard this from Danny Pesci yesterday. We were hanging out. He said, it's either you complain or you have a resolution. You can't like just have something and complain about it without like, you're just complaining. That's it. You're not even finding a solution for it. So you're either complaining or find a resolution. And, I think that hit pretty hard. I had W-2 employees in my sales organization that would help the installers understand where projects were at, audit CADs, audit electrical. And I know it sounds like a lot for a sales org, but that is genuinely and truly why we succeeded to the level that we did.
Yeah, it's kind of, I think it's a theme that a lot of the interviews recently, based on my personal experience, a lot of the interviews recently I've been talking to people have kind of been going more into the idea that as an industry, as companies, as individuals, the way for us to be better is to take more ownership of our service, of our product, of us, like everything, like even because there's so much. Like, for example, I mean, I recently was one of many people who have been screwed by a specific company, but I know people in the industry have been screwed by a lot of different companies. And one of the things that you start to like realize is it's always easy to point the finger at somebody else, but at the same time, I took that job, I took that offer, I was a part of it, I maybe ignored these red flags or whatever it is, and we all have to do a better job of taking ownership of the results that we get, because it's not like we're tied to a specific company or we're tied to a specific installer. And when we put ourselves in kind of that mindset, like we're with them, like everything that goes wrong, we're going to end up putting the blame on them, and we have to be able to not only own our decisions, but then own the results, even if maybe it wasn't our fault that something happened, but we still have to take at least a little bit of ownership and understand that we're in this situation because of us and us alone. Because there's always something you can do. You can always, if you see the red flags, or you can always move to a different company. Like, you're not stuck and you're never locked in the current position. You have to be able to figure out what you need to do differently next time. That's going to be better. And I think that's something that the solar industry as a whole, everyone talks about it, but it's something that I think we're going to see in the next couple of years. Is the industry, I think, is going to grow up. And I think the industry right now is like a bunch of teenagers that just found out how to make like something that they can do to make money, and no one really cares about the operations and the procedures and doing things the right way and growing a business based on referrals. And some people do, but the majority of people don't. And I think we're going to start to see not only companies taking more ownership, but then reps taking more ownership as well.
I love that you're saying that, and I'm trying to take that on my shoulders, but as I have this vision of trying to help the industry understand things, I realize that there are many people that have that same vision, and you are one of them. I mean, your group that you have, your solar growth group, is literally there to help solar people understand exactly where things are, why they need to be the way they do, and help people kind of get through the daily struggles that they go through in solar. It's a platform that you've created to assist people, a place where they can come and ask questions and get help, true help, honest help, not help like, from someone that started 6 months ago that thinks they know the answer, right? This is true help from true professionals, and it's groups like yours that are really making the industry a better place.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what the group initially was all about, like, marketing, but what I think it evolved into was, what does it take for us to grow? What does it take for a rep to grow? What does it take for the company to grow? What does it take for the industry as a whole to grow? And when you start to think about it like more at a bigger scale, like a lot of those things are aligned. And that's another thing too, that I is not to like other Facebook groups. I never want it to be like exclusive or feel like it's like you can't, yeah, sure, it's sponsored, but I never want it to feel like if you're associated with another company, then you can't post here, or like, that was my thing. Was I was always hoping that I could and one of the things I need to still do is work harder to get more of the marketing guys involved in posting content and trying to get them to hopefully provide value in that way, because I really don't care if you work with me or whatever I'm working on, if you're involved with that or not. I just want to make sure that you, and honestly, my goal is to make sure you're not working with the people that you shouldn't trust. So hopefully putting a spotlight on the people that are out there and providing value and showing what they can do and proving themselves. Hopefully those are the people that we can bring business to. So you mentioned the thing that made Helio Gold kind of different, or what you did very, very well compared to other people, was recruiting and culture. So let's talk about recruiting first. What do you think is if you had to give like one piece of advice for someone to improve their company's recruiting right now in 2022, what would it be? And then, and second part of that question, what do you think the biggest mistake people make when they go into recruiting?
Okay, those are really good questions.
So let's start with the first one. Ignore the second one. I can always bring that back. But basically, in 2022, what do you think, or like, what is the main advice you'd give to somebody who feels like they can improve their recruiting?
Improve recruiting, I would say, build a platform that edifies them and not you is the premise behind a great, successful recruiting campaign. People get bought into your vision. They don't necessarily get bought into the solar product, because so many organizations out there are offering solar, right? It's a solar organization. They offer solar. And a lot of organizations try to tell them, hey, we're the best company. Come work with us. We have the lowest red lines. We have the fastest pay. We have the fastest install times. This is stuff that they have heard from every installer or every sales organization across the country. And we are so sick and tired of hearing it, right? What we want to hear is inspiration. We want to hear change. We want to hear adaptability. We want to hear sales reps want to know that they're growing within an organization and not building an organization just to be pushed off to the side. They want to be bought into a vision and an idea. And if they can buy into that, then you can recruit them. But you had better have a strong vision and idea. The one that I went with at Helio Gold was, we're going to be the most educated and quality sales consultants in the entire industry. I'm biased. I believe we did it, but it has to be something unique. It cannot be. What was that? Oh, you're saying?
I was going to say, it's okay to be biased in that situation. So, but go ahead, continue.
No, it's just the same thing. You can't be the same as everyone else, thinking you have a better business than everyone else, because they're hearing the same thing from everyone. So be unique, be different. And one of the best ways I found to do that is actually dig back into the very deepest roots of your emotions of when you were a kid. And there's one guy, I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but his name is Rich Klein. And he actually, he touched me. Like, he wanted to build his business because he wants to leave what he touches as a better place. When he was growing up as a kid, one of the best memories he has of his dad is when he was camping, And his dad, they just bonded with his dad on this father-son camp trip. And his dad said, hey, no, pick that up. We're going to leave this spot better than we left it. And Rich says that he has taken that concept throughout his whole life and applied it to, to marriage, to his kids, to everything, like the hobbies that he has. And I think it's a beautiful concept. It's things like that. It's the passion and the emotion is what's going to recruit people. It's not having the best company and the best service, the fastest install times. It's your emotion and your passion. So in order to have that come out and be genuine, it's got to be something that you felt when you were a kid, so you can feel it again as you're growing and recruiting.
It reminds me of something I learned when I was in the Boy Scouts. Were you a Boy Scout?
I was Eagle Scout.
Eagle Scout. There you go. So when I was in Boy Scouts, one of the things that always stuck with me was leaving no trace. You go camping, and not only that, but like if we went to a campground or we went and stayed somewhere, our goal was to leave it better than when we had got there. And that kind of same thing is similar to that, which is obviously not only creating a company that you're proud of, that impacts the community and the environment and the whole world, but kind of the same idea of promoting good and making things better. So I like that. That's what it reminded me of. And my brother was an Eagle Scout. I was the failure in the family.
Look at you now, though.
Yeah, look at me now. With my podcast video with hundreds of viewers, hundreds. So then the second part of that question was, I'm sure you kind of already touched on, I'm assuming, what you think the biggest mistake was. So is that the biggest mistake you think that people make with recruiting, is focused on kind of their company rather than what they can do for the sales reps?
So the biggest mistake I've ever seen when trying to get salespeople is these organizations build everything out to run the organization. Again, same concept as, thinking that if they have the best company and the best processes and throughput, that's going to recruit people. They actually build their office spaces, and they build their organizations, their websites, everything, even down to the name of their company. They build it to appeal to customers and to support their W-2s or whoever's helping them on the business side, but they don't build the organization for salespeople. And so if you are having troubles recruiting, it's as simple as if you have an office space, it's as simple as having a designated space only for salespeople. Just like you have a designated office for your project manager or even for yourself, why in the world don't you have one for your salespeople? If this is supposed to be their home, if they're supposed to go to this work and be proud of it, to your office and be proud of it, how come they don't even have their own space? And I have seen that so many times in the solar industry, and people...
They do have their own space. It's on the sidewalk going to the next door.
Exactly. Like, no, you know what? These sales reps, they're out there. They want culture. They want to feel like they're part of your company. They're supposed to be out working. I switched things up at my office. I put a little movie theater in there, turn off the lights. There was recliners. I put the office was actually built for the sales team so that they could come in and hang out there. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but they were proud of it. They would bring their families in there. They'd be friends. I gave everyone in the office keys, the little magnetic cards that you touch to the thing and it unlocks the door. I gave them all keys. They could go in there at 3 a.m. if they wanted. They could. If I walked in that office at 7 o'clock at night and there was a party happening, I knew that I was going to have a successful next month, because this is their office. This is their team, right? This is their home. And it just blows my mind that organizations want to try to control that, or don't even give them, the space or time to be proud of where they work. And that's the biggest mistake. It all culminates from there. Like, if you don't have the space for your salespeople, how are you recruiting them into your space? It doesn't work, right?
Yeah, I think it's true. I mean, it really, when you think about recruiting, in essence, it's marketing. It's the same as how people market and get solar leads, and how they attract customers. How you attract reps is very, very similar. And the biggest thing that you can, the biggest mistake you can make when talking to customers or talking to a potential sales rep is focusing on you and what you have to offer and what you do and your product, and like people don't care about you. Like, no, that's what I tell people all the time. Like, no one cares about you. They care about what you can do for them. And that's the same thing with reps. Is you can tell them things, or you can show them things, and then you can show them, this is how we take care of our reps. This is what we can do for you. This is what we can offer you. This is what we believe, and we want you to be like. Once you do that, you're creating that culture, and then it becomes, when you do that, recruiting becomes easy. And it's, like I said, the same as sales. When you get to a point where people are coming to you, then you have your kind of choice of, I was going to say choice of the litter, but you guys know what I mean. You have the ability to pick and choose, and people are coming to you. You're attracting the type of people that you want, and then that is where you're going to be able to kind of foster that culture, because you're doing something different. You're providing more value, even if it's not monetary value. You're providing more value and more happiness to your team, and that's important, especially with the way the industry is now, and more people get screwed. Companies like that are going to be better and better. So I have a question, which is probably almost more personal, not personal, but
I wanted to say something real quick before we from that subject. Oh yeah, Joe's in here with us too. He teaches me so much every day. I wanted to say something too. There's a guy out there. He owns a company called Harness. His name is Dan Dunn. He doesn't know that I look up to him, but I do. I don't think he has an office space, but I wanted to clarify. He does create space for his sales team. I've seen it on social media. He actually, I think it's his front yard. He set up chairs in his front yard and put a whiteboard out there and had his salespeople sitting 6 feet apart during COVID. That's a space for salespeople. He's brought them to his home, right? And I think it's beautiful. It doesn't have to be a physical building, just as long as you have a space for salespeople. So I didn't want people to think I was saying, go get an office, that's how you be successful. It's just creating a space where sales reps feel like they have a home, and they feel like they're welcome, just like anyone else is, right?
Yeah, and it's not with the office. It's not, the office isn't what makes it like unique, and the idea is you're creating the space that they enjoy. You're providing them with the things that they need, or that they like, or that support them. The office, it's the room itself isn't what makes it special. And it reminds me of people that like go and they'll buy a big old office space, and they'll buy their logos and print their business cards, and they do everything oh, this is what official businesses do, but they don't actually like do the most important things, which is, selling and succeeding and finding success. But that is a good transition, because I was going to talk to you next about, we're living in a world that's virtual, that's more virtual now than it ever has been before. And we're seeing more and more organizations that maybe don't have a physical location. What do you think, or what have you done to kind of create that winning culture in a virtual sense? Or what have you seen companies do that has allowed them to establish a culture even if they don't have a physical location?
Well, I have to tell you, the Solar Academy is never meant to be just the Jake show or the Joe show. It's actually meant to be to have many professors in it. This is one category where I would actually bring a professional in to talk about, because I don't have the best experience with virtual cultural building. Now, it doesn't mean I don't know the people that do. We actually bring them in to answer that question, but I would honestly feel a bit silly trying to give advice on that, because I'm not the best at it, right? I'm not the best at a lot of things, but I'm really good at some stuff. And creating that virtual culture is admittedly something I'm not great at. It's partially why I look up to Joe and yourself. You guys have virtually created a culture, right? So I would defer that question to another professional that is really good at that, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. No, I don't. There's no. There's nothing wrong with saying I don't know, or that's not my field. That's another thing that everyone can kind of benefit from, is knowing what you're the expert at, and not, you'd rather give people no answer than give them the wrong answer. Like when we're talking to homeowners and we don't know something about their roof, if you lie or just make up what you think sounds right, and then they're still thinking about it, but you've already moved on, and then you turns out later that you were wrong and someone else corrects them, you're the one that looks like an idiot. And so I'm not saying that you would look like an idiot, but my point is, if you're not 100%, if you don't know something, it's better to not answer than to give the wrong answer. So
yeah,
I respect that.
I think it's one of the disabilities in the industry is when people can't admit that they don't know something, because they start to give answers to people that are really relying on them and trusting them, and then they go and do it and it doesn't work, and it's just like it's damaging the industry. And it's okay, like you're saying, it's okay to say you don't know and recommend someone, edify them, build them up, because they're going to do the same to you. And it's I guess you could call it a utopian solar society, and it might be complicated to do, but just all of us are trying. You're trying, Joe's trying, I'm trying. There's a lot of us that are banding together to try that. I just don't like the misinformation, and I know that a lot of people don't appreciate it either.
So what is your opinion on solar companies that maybe try to do too much? So companies that they sell solar and then they move into obviously roofing and HVAC, and like they try to present themselves as like 100% like your home expert. Do you think that is effective? Do you think that is it? I mean, obviously every single time you add a new product or a new service or a new niche, it becomes more and more that we have to understand and be able to train people to do it effectively. Do you think it's possible to kind of, rather than have a solar company, rather have a all-in-one home service professional?
That's a solid question. So I think that companies can carry multiple products. I think the largest mistake they make is trying to have the whole company do it. If they have a company name and then this company does roof, solar, windows, doors, I think it's going to be a problem. But if they build sub companies underneath, meaning they have their own person that runs that product and their own sales team that runs that product, and then another one that does solar and another one that does doors, and it's all under one umbrella, essentially creating these little mini CEOs for these things. That's the type of entrepreneur that can build themselves out of a business and free their time. It's a unique and rare thing in any industry for any entrepreneur to do that. The entrepreneurs that build it all under one roof and have the same sales team selling every product, I'm not saying they can't be successful. I have just, from what I've seen in the industry, those are the entrepreneurs that will always be working in their business because they haven't delegated the sections off to be good at exactly what they're good at. They're trying to be good at everything rather than delegating. And this is from what I've seen. I would love to meet someone that has done everything under one roof, that still has the free time of someone that has built it individually. I would love to meet that person because they would have a unique mind that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's we were talking about how the industry as a whole, I mean, the majority of people struggle with managing a solar business, and just solar. And then when we add those, it just becomes more and more complicated. And I think a lot of times when I see it and you see why they struggle, I think a lot of the times is because they look at those other offerings as ways to make easy money, or they think, oh, this is something that we can add on that they're going to want and that we can do, and they don't give that product or service the respect that it deserves. And they just kind of think of it as like an afterthought, as an upsell, you're buying this product so we can give you this too. But then when they approach it that way, that's the way they're selling it, or the product is an afterthought to them, and then it's also becomes an afterthought but it's not an afterthought to the customer. I don't know. I don't think that came out the way that I wanted, but I think the main thing is when we do things for that reason, like because we think it's going to be an easy money or easy add-on, but we don't explain or provide the same level of training for whatever that product is. I think that's when we kind of have the disconnect and when it can start to struggle, because it does, to offer more products, especially if you're presenting yourself as the expert, you have to understand them just as well as you do with your main product, which is solar. And that's why I think I'm a believer of not necessarily trying to be the master of everything. I think it's better, and I think we can make more money overall if we defer to people that are the experts. If you have a partner or someone that you work with that is the best HVAC guy, I don't expect an HVAC guy to be the solar guy. If I found an HVAC guy that started selling me solar, I'd be a little suspicious. But then if you have an HVAC guy that says, you know what, one of the things we have is we have a partner, we have one of our departments manages, they work on solar to help people to get your bills down even lower. Let's see if we can get you connected with them. Like at that point, you're presenting yourself as the expert, and you're not discrediting yourself by trying to be an expert in more than one kind of vertical.
And salespeople, yes, that's great. Salespeople try to say, oh, this homeowner wants windows and doors. Can I get a proposal and a quote for that so I can sell it? And to me, it's like, wait a minute. Why? Go get another solar account. Let someone else handle that. You know, one of the best things, and I think I've told you this before, Kyle, I love this thing. It's a story you've probably heard. A lot of people have, but I love it. Someone was walking on an airplane and they say, oh my goodness, I want to sit in first class. No, I have so much ambition that I don't want to sit in first class, and I don't even want to own the airplane. I want to own the whole damn airport. I'm like, whew, I've been there. I have done that. Not an airport, but I've dealt with the chaos that would ensue with that big of a project, right? And I said, or a smaller project, it's still a lot of chaos. And I said, I'm the type of guy that would rather be sitting in first class and drinking my drink while you stress out about all that, watching Netflix while I fly to my next destination, waking up knowing that I didn't make, $2,000 on a window and door job, that I handed it off to someone. I made a free $500. Time is money. Like, your time is more valuable. Everyone says that everyone says that time is their most rare commodity, but no one lives like that, or it's rare to find people that live that way. If your time is truly that valuable, why are you trying to learn a whole nother product? Why are you trying to squeeze an extra $1,500 out of $2,000 when you could have all of the free time in the world and get $500 doing what you love to do? Waking up the next morning, you handed 3 leads off to a windows and doors expert. All of a sudden, you have another $1,500 in your account, and you didn't spend any time on that. That's where the real value is, because when you free up your time, you can build the thing that is going to be your main revenue stream. And too many people get caught up in all the little time-sucking things, and they only end up making like 80 to 100 grand a year. And it's like, well, no wonder you're trying to make $1 off of windows and doors, and you're trying to understand solar, and you can't be the Michael Jordan of solar if you're trying to be a Michael Jordan at baseball. He's proved it already. You cannot be as great of an athlete in all things when you spread yourself thin like that, right? So let people do what they're good at and get the free money. They're happy to pay you referral fees. They want to take care of your customers, because that means you're going to send them more referrals. That means you actually kind of have someone working for you, and you're making free money. That's where there's a lot of power in that.
Yeah, I don't know if the Michael Jordan baseball now, he was a professional baseball player, whether or not he had the merits for. But anyways, but he was the best at basketball. And if you're the best at basketball, you're never going to find the best person at basketball is never going to be the best at anything else, really.
In the right time, right? So hand it off to the Michael Jordan of basketball, or hand it off to the Alex Rodriguez of baseball, right?
Yeah, I think you need to. The other thing I think is that more people need to think about is, you're talking about protecting your time. I think about it from the same. I'm thinking about it too from protecting your reputation. So protecting your reputation, meaning if you have a new product that you're selling, and if you think about the quality that you present to people with solar, and if you started adding different products, it should stress you the hell out, because you're not able to control the quality as well, or you're not as educated so you have to learn if you wanted to, and that should stress you out, because if you sell a bad product that hurts your business or your name or your reputation, it's going to hurt your solar business as well. So you should focus on your solar business, trying to be the absolute best at selling that. Right. And then you want to protect your time and reputation. The easiest way to do that is to find and partner with someone who takes their product as seriously as you take your product. So I think we're aligned there. I see it too with some people that try to offer like business services. maybe not necessarily in solar, but in marketing and all that stuff where we do lead gen. And then they're like, okay, made the mistake. I was like, I want to run an in-house call center. A call center can't be that bad. And then you just start to go down rabbit holes and you start to offer more and more. You say, we can do recruiting for you. We can connect you with the best red line. And before you know it, it's like you said, working in your business in your business rather than working on your business. Mm-hmm. It's not something that's ever going to be able to separate from you because you wear so many hats and you're doing so many different things. It's just going to be a never ending to-do list of what task you want to do.
Well, I'm working in the Solar Academy as it is right now. In the beginning, you do need to wear multiple hats. It's kind of indicative of starting a business, right? But where most people fail, and this, I know that we're talking about business now, is they don't recognize the spots where they should pivot and delegate, right? And I've needed help with that. I've needed coaching for that. One of my good friends, Ben Mack, I would say Helio Gold got as successful as it did because Ben came in and ripped me out of working in the company and started forcing me to get W-2s, even though I didn't think I could afford them. But he's the one that instilled in my mind, no, dude, your time is not spent creating designs because he said the question is, if you pay someone to make designs, can you make $1 more than that doing something else? And I said, yeah. He's like, then you're building a business and you're being profitable. And so if you can even make $1 more, that's your job. I'm supposed to be the top generating revenue guy in the business. I'm supposed to be the most valuable one. So why am I sitting there doing something as mundane as designs or, auditing CADs or whatever it might be? Because my time is better spent generating more money than what it costs that person to do it. And if I don't believe that I can do that, then I have no right being a business owner.
Yeah, identifying your most important tasks or objectives and you focusing on that and getting people to focus on the secondary stuff because the secondary stuff is secondary for a reason, right?
Right.
I think that's something, like I said, the solar industry will grow up eventually. And it's going to get to a point where hopefully we see a lot of the fly by the night companies that started 2 months ago that all they do is sell and they don't have any operating procedures and they don't have any they don't provide enough training and they don't have things standardized. Those companies are going to continue. They're already struggling, but they're going to continue to struggle more and more and more. And eventually we're going to hopefully get to a place where the companies that are succeeding are the ones that have all that stuff in place and kind of have built that culture and hired the right people and have everything standardized like you did with Helio Gold. So not a lot of people know this because a lot of people think of you as a solar guy, but they also think of you as the business guy, which is like building a solar business and understanding that. And it sounds like you've obviously learned a lot over the last 9 years that you've been in solar. But what I know you as is also one of the best salespeople and sales guys that I have spoken with. Thank
you.
Yeah. Well, I don't speak with a lot of people, but I'm just kidding. That's I wonder why I do that. I can't just let you let you say thank you.
No, I love that.
I can't help myself but give you another a little two-handed compliment. But I know, and I've spoken with you, and I've seen you, and I've seen how you've helped people in sales to sell better. What is it that you believe? I guess. What kind of training or what kind of coaching do you think works best for salespeople? Is it on an individual level? Do you think you can do it effectively in groups? Can you do it with a course? What is it what is the main message or the main philosophy that you like to instill that's going to help someone become better at sales in general?
I would say that's a really good question. I like that you recognize me as a sales guy because people don't know that I actually at Helio Gold, I trained all 58 of those people to knock doors. I trained them, right? Ben Mack helped me in the final year that, before I sold it. But I trained these people to sell. And I love training people how to sell better. And it's rare that I go to a house now and I don't close it simply because of some of the, tactics that we use or teach. But I would say for salespeople, one of the best tricks is to teach them to sell strong is empathy. I think a lot of people, a lot of sales reps in this industry are forgetting that one word. They're forgetting what it feels like to have someone knock on their door, those emotions that happen through their minds and through their body, how they physically feel, the stresses that they might have behind the closed door. There's so many things that homeowner might be going through, and you can actually navigate your pitch based on what you're feeling, that energy you're feeling with the homeowner, and empathizing with them, saying, hey, this homeowner is moving their head this way, they have this facial expression, they're leaning on the door like this. When did I do that? When could I imagine myself doing that? And what circumstance am I in, and what mindset was I in when I was doing this identical exact thing? Because they might be going through exactly what I did. And sometimes you have to recognize those things in a split second. And that's part of what we teach, is recognizing indicators to navigate your pitch, or pull back, step back further, go closer in, change your tone of voice higher or lower. And, there's times to do all of that. So if there's times to point, there's times to turn around and not look at them. There's times for all of this based on our own experiences in life and how we felt when certain words come out of our mouth. I train people to say scary words like, oh, this is a contract. You cannot get out of this thing. I train people to say that because I want that customer's emotions to drop down. And then I want to teach my sales reps to say something to bring it back up and make it okay, right? To empathize with them. Hey, but don't worry. The last time you signed something like this, it was a pretty good investment. How do you like your house? It's things where it's associated feelings and understanding where their feelings are on an emotional scale, and navigating your pitch and adjusting that way. It doesn't matter what you say, as long as that homeowner feels that you genuinely care and you're not there just to sell them something. If you truly have empathy, it's not about, hey, how do I overcome the objection of a mom that has two kids running around? How do I do that? It's not about that. It's about saying, you're a single mom that has two kids running around. It's hard for me to even deal with one sometimes, and I'm in here and you don't even know me. Is there a time I can come back where maybe someone's here that can help, or it's not as chaotic for you? Because I don't know how you can handle two. I can't even handle one. And that right there, the mother is going to do one of two things. She's either going to say, oh my God, thank you so much, because it is hard. And you know what? It's okay. If you give me 5 minutes, I'll go put on a show for them. And it readjusts and sets the whole tone. The second thing they might say, and this is what sales reps are afraid of, is, oh my God, thank you so much. Yes, I didn't want to be rude, which you're not going to sell that person anyway. I don't want to be rude, but it would be so nice if you could come at a different time. And because of that, you've just created two winning situations. Sales reps push and push and push, which can force a losing situation. You should never, ever, ever get a no on the door, and you should never get a no in a meeting. You should get if you see it turning into a no through empathizing what the situations are and circumstances, you should turn it into a later meeting. You should turn it into a meeting that might even happen a year from now. You should never leave with a no. You should always leave it open, right? And homeowners will respect you for that. You'll get referrals that way. You'll have less cancellations. You'll get larger system sizes. They'll trust you. You'll beat your competition. They will trust you more with one thing: empathy. That is literally the only secret recipe sauce to selling these things.
Yeah, you see it. Two things stuck out to me is, like, number one, I do see it a lot with people that are new to the industry. Once again, if they knock on a door and the customer doesn't, or they knock on the door, or they call somebody and the call or knock, it doesn't go their way, whatever it is, they blame the homeowner. Like, oh, they're just, it's just, they weren't interested, blah, blah, blah. And then, but at the same time, that's, if we do think about what we feel when someone's coming to our door, it's a little hypocritical, because I would do the same thing. I mean, I don't like people coming to my door. So if expecting them to be and be all warm and excited about the fact that we're there trying to sell them something is, in a way, just not realistic, but it's also a little hypocritical because I can't, you have to empathize with them so that you can understand where they're coming from and then also take ownership of the interaction. If the interaction doesn't go well, what could I do to make it better next time, or what can I learn from it? And then the second thing it reminds me of in the sales process, a little bit further in the sales process, when we obviously we address and overcome objections before the homeowner even is able to bring them up. And that's kind of what you're mentioning, is if when we're there, we're empathizing with them. Sometimes we can tell if someone's on their way out the door, or if they're in a hurry, or if they're in the middle of something, or if they have kids running all over the place. Like, we can identify those things, and very early in the interaction, if we can empathize with them and address that before they address it, it makes us more human. It makes us more human, but it also makes them like us better than other salespeople that would just try to say, "Hey, well, I know you're busy, but I was wondering, do you have your bill on your hand by any chance?" And whatever. That's what it reminded me of, was how you have to be able to empathize with them and try to figure out what they are going to throw at you before they get to that point.
If you're a door knocker and you knock on the door, someone in your organization has probably taught you at some point to say, "Hey, sorry to bother you," right? The way that we say it, "Hey, sorry to bother you," is not actually empathetic. Empathy, if you understand, if they come to that door and it looks like you're bothering them, empathy would force you to say that same sentence in a different way. And we've all been trained from all of our solar pros. It's not what I say, it's how you say it. We've all been trained this, but people don't understand necessarily what that means. If you knock on the door and say, "Hey, sorry to bother you," you're saying it. But it's not what you're saying, it's how you say it. So if you had empathy and you knock on the door and you see it, act like you're walking on eggshells, because you are recognizing that the homeowner, like, "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you." You know, the stutter in the voice, the higher voice, the hands up. "Hey, I'm sorry to bother you." That actually sounds more genuine than, "Hey, sorry to bother you." Like, where's the empathy? It's how you say it, not what you're saying. So I was just going along with what you were saying. It's important to have empathy.
And it's also important to use that empathy to, no conversation is the same. I mean, that's what I hate about scripts a lot of times, is people, they get handed a script and then they think the words are magical, or they think that if you, no matter what, you have to stick to the script, or this is how we handle it. And when you force things, it's like forcing a square peg into a round hole. And when you try to do that, it's not going to work for everybody. Right. And you have to be able to adjust. And that all begins with obviously analyzing the situation, having empathy for them, and then creating an individualized and respectful response. And then when you do that, the interactions may be slightly different. There might be some that you're able to kind of do right there on the spot. A lot of times what I see people that they, for example, one call closes. They do one call closes. They always do one call closes. And then if for whatever reason, even if the person maybe is giving warning signs or bringing up concerns that would indicate to a more experienced salesperson that they should probably provide them with a little bit of time and space and then come back again, they just try to go for the one call close, and then when it doesn't happen, they just let it go. Yep. And nothing, I think as we get more experience, it's a lot easier for us to do that. But the biggest thing is that if we start kind of instilling and practicing principles rather than things like scripts and things if we start to kind of spend more time investing in ourselves and learning and understanding why things are happening, and just trying to get more in the moment rather than being like a robot, we're going to be having a lot more success. And it all starts with empathy, because if you don't have empathy, then you're not able to really understand the person that's there talking to you, or sitting across the table from you, or on the phone with you. Definitely. What do you think? So what is the toughest thing for someone when they're going onto the doors the first time? Like, how do you coach someone to fail?
Well, I try to remind salespeople, and in the beginning they might not believe this. This is why practice helps. Going Practice helps off of the doors because it gives you the confidence you need to go on the doors. Doors is game time, right? Michael Jordan, since we were talking about him, he didn't only play the games. He didn't go to the games. He didn't go eat donuts and watch television, and game day comes and he throws his jersey on. He practiced off of the court, off of the game. And when we go and knock on the doors, or we go into a customer's house for an appointment with a lead or whatever it might be, that's game time. But if you're not practicing before game time, you're always going to fail, unless you get that low hanging fruit and then you can live off of, $2-3 for the next 3 months, which somehow I have seen reps do. That's a talent in and of itself, but I would say something that sales reps absolutely need to remember is when you knock on that door, and I think Zig Ziglar said it, there's a sale in every single transaction. It's whether you got sold, that they didn't have the time for you, that they,
transaction or interaction?
The what?
Is it transaction or interaction?
I don't know. What was that?
I don't know. I can look it up. But go ahead. Apologies. Continue. I was just curious because I was like, transaction, I would assume there's a sale. But go ahead. Continue.
So there is a sale in every transaction, or is that what you're saying? Transition at transaction. There is a sale no matter what. And it's whether you sold them that, what you're there for, you believe in, and the product is good for them and they could use it, or they sold you that they were too busy, it was too stressful, it's not good enough. And the question that really resonated through my mind and just really changed all the way down to my soul was when someone asked me, it was Ben Mack again, he said, "Hey, who's a better salesman, you or the homeowner?" And I was like, me. I am. He's like, "Okay, then prove it, because right now they're selling the shit out of you." Right? And I was like, whoa, this is my profession. Why am I getting beat by the homeowners? They're not better salesmen than me. That's a nurse. That's a doctor. That guy owns a gas station. They're not salespeople. I'm a salesperson. How am I sitting here letting them be a better salesperson than me? And then what I did was I adjusted my mentality, my tone, my range of voice, my pitch. I adjusted everything to appeal to the masses. And some people say it's a numbers game. Even the greatest, like Grant Cardone, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. It's not. No, literally every single person can be sold. It's, do you have the skills and the mindset to be able to do it or not? There are different personalities out there. Figure out a pitch. Figure out something that works for the masses and not, for a niche person. Because if you're knocking doors, or you're getting leads, you're only going to close those people that you are good at closing. Practice on the other personalities. Be a better salesman than those people are.
Yeah, because it's a numbers game. That was a joke because it is a numbers game, but there's more. I
don't like numbers. I don't like a numbers game. I genuinely, when I knock on a door, I sit there for about 5 minutes figuring out, okay, there's 2 black Mercedes in the driveway. The yard is really well manicured. There's a white picket fence. The shutters are blue. These people, they must be successful. They must be traveling. They must be business people. Right next door is a Toyota Tacoma and a minivan with kids' toys in the yard. They don't travel as much. They're living within their means. It's right next door. One of them looks like a pristine magazine-style home, and one of them looks like a house that I grew up in as a kid. Which one could use solar more? What's going on in these 2 houses? Which one gives me the greater percentage of closing if I knock on these doors? It's not a numbers game. It is literally your ability to recognize who could use this right now the most, the best, and the talents and skills that you have in order to close that person. You either get sold or you sell them. That is it. It's a one-on-one situation. It's not a numbers game, because then you're turning it into it's a 50 and 100. That's that's wrong. It is one-on-one. And when I go to the next house, it's one-on-one.
When you say that's the thing, I think is what probably kind of what you're talking about is probably the issue with the mindset of it's a numbers game, or the people or the coaches or the authors that basically just say you just got to work harder, and working. I mean, that is part of it, but you do have to work smarter too. And that's kind of what you're getting to is knocking 100 doors or knocking 50 doors that are specific type or that are more likely to be the person that you're looking for. But another thing too that we want to think about is don't because I'm not saying that you do this, but I know some people that look at those differences in houses and they see one house that's the family and they make their judgments of which one can use solar more, and then for that reason they don't even try, or they have that in their head, and then when they start the conversation they in a way they use it to psych themselves out, or they've already made assumptions about the homeowner. And it's important to kind of intake all that information, but at the same time you don't want to
well, I'm going to say something.
Oh, and Jake, you just disappeared. Jake, he's back.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you disappeared for a few seconds. Oh, you're going to say something. I feel like you were going to. What?
I'm going to say something wild and obscure.
Yeah, let's go for it. I like wild and obscure.
They're knocking doors wrong. They should skip the house with the black Mercedes and the well-manicured yard, because it didn't have as high of a percent of a closing rate as the other home did. And what they need to do is they need to go find the homes that have the highest closing rate that day. Garage is open, cars are out, front doors open with the glass things shut. Like, they need to find the highest probability of a close that day and only go to those houses. Skip 15 houses and go to the house that looks like it has the highest percentage of chance. Once you get the highest percentage of closing, now you can go to back to the home with the well-manicured yard and the Mercedes, because you have a greater chance of doing it. You have just increased your percentage by selling all the other homes around them. You have now made that home a higher closing rate than it was if you just knocked it cold before going to the houses that had a higher percent, right? You're improving your odds and your statistics on every door that you knock if you do it the smart way instead of going door to door to door. It's horrible to do that.
So what takes priority? A house that has those indicators that say they're a good candidate for solar, or a house where someone is obviously home?
You can rank them on a 1 to 10 scale. I want someone that's home, that that has kids. For me, these are the things I look for. Has a swimming pool in the backyard, runs air conditioning, possibly a 2-story home. I like 1 stories because you get a better offset sometimes, but there's a lot of indicators that I look at where I'm like, this family could use savings more than this family can, which does increase my probability, whether it's 1% or 5% or 50%. I'm looking for the probability of a close and not working to go and knock doors and collect bills. Who cares about collecting bills and who cares about knocking doors? You are out there to get sales. Go to the homes that you have the highest probability with and increase the percentage of all the homes surrounding them when you close those high ones, right?
Yes.
It's strategy. And people go out there completely blank-minded and start knocking doors and wonder why they're not succeeding. It's because you're not putting any effort or thought into it. Going out there and going through the motions is not good enough. You are a human. Your ability, the advantage we have in this whole kingdom is that we have a brain that's supposedly smarter than everyone else.
Supposedly.
So use it. Don't go out and do the same thing every day and wonder why you're getting the same results. Change it up. Learn things. Actually go out there with a plan. And it's
like you said with Michael Jordan, putting the work in outside of the gym and his when he's at home, when he's resting, when he's doing his physical therapy, when he's stretching, when he's working out in the morning. I think even probably maybe more of a known example compared to Michael Jordan is like Kobe Bryant. Like Kobe Bryant was obviously, he wasn't as good as Michael Jordan was, but he was still great. But you always hear these stories and you kind of see his he called it the Mamba mentality, which is like this guy got to a game like 3 hours early. He wanted to be the first person on the court, and by the time he got there, Kobe was already on the court and he was drenching in sweat because he got there 2 hours before that. And that kind of putting the work outside of the arena. So when we're at home and prepping, if we know we're going to knock in a neighborhood, what can we do ahead of time to kind of prepare or plan better?
So here's an example of one of the neighborhoods that I knocked. All those stars actually are homes that have swimming pools in the backyard. And then I drove through the neighborhood, and then of those homes, of the ones with the stars, I looked at the ones that I had the highest probability of pitching. I only have 5 good pitches in me a day, literally. It's like studying for a final exam at a test in college. You don't get tired and go home and take a nap after the test because you exerted a lot of physical activity. It's mentally draining. If you are focusing that intently and that hard on a door that you go and knock, and you're pushing that hard mentally, then you're going to be exhausted after 5 pitches. I only have 5 good ones in me. After that, I'm toasted.
Yeah, if that even, I think we might. Some of us probably don't even realize how our energy starts to drain after a couple pitches. I mean, keeping fresh and alert and being at our absolute best is challenging no matter what it is. Well, I think that's awesome. I love that you on your phone you not only identified houses that have pools, but then you did secondary research, which is like basically scouting the areas and finding like knowing which houses not only have pools but meet these other criteria, and these are the top houses. And because the other thing too is when you're in that area, those are the houses that you would come back to multiple times or more than other ones those are your primary focus, and your ultimate goal is to get in front of those people and take your shot, because that is going to be a higher probability shot.
It is. And then I go to the homes without the stars once I've closed the ones with stars, and I'm in that area for about 2 or 3 years. This blitzing to like Texas and then to Nevada and then Utah, it's like you can't you want to install over 200 accounts in a year. You gotta stay in your area for a couple of years. You know,
it's everyone seeking the low bearing fruit. I mean, that's what you see with online leads all the time, which is just people that think it's going to be easy, or they only focus on the easiest ones, and they don't have the long-term plan to actually nurture and close the more challenging ones. And interesting, I like that you're not necessarily against blitzes, but you think you can close more deals by focusing on a small area rather than going to multiple areas.
That's a really good question. I'm not opposed to blitzes, and thank you for allowing me to clear that up. I think blitzes are necessary just to get out of our heads and out of the same monotony that we go through every single day, and go experience life a little bit. And it's okay to experience a new life even in the career that you're working in. So blitzes do have their value, but we should always feel comfortable at home. You should always have a home. Blitzes should not be, and this is my biased opinion, blitzes should not be your home. That's unstable ground. That's unstable territory. You are constantly trying to generate credibility in a neighborhood at any given time. And unfortunately, that even seeps into our own minds and how we feel when we're knocking doors, is trying to establish that sense of credibility in the neighborhood. And then we try to establish that, and then we lose that credibility in ourselves. But if you go to a neighborhood that you've been in for 2 or 3 years, I promise you, I am still getting referrals today, and I stopped knocking about 7 years ago. Right? I'm sorry. I stopped knocking for myself. The last year I knocked solely for myself. I did 210 installs that year, just from knocking doors. But then when I did Helio Gold, I would go out and I would knock with some of the sales reps and teach some of my managers how to do it and have them watch me and shadow me. And I'm looking forward to even doing it soon. I've responded to people, if I buy you a plane ticket, will you come out and do a blitz? I'm like, hey, I will. No way. And then I never hear from them. So I'm ready. I'll go back out there. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, that's the thing too, is I think the reason that a lot of people like blitz is because of the something we talked about earlier, which is the culture behind it. Not necessarily like the company culture, but just the environment of being with a team and working and putting in long hours and doing like every new area, like a challenge to conquer, and you're able to conquer it with other people that are similar to you. I think that there's a lot of appeal to that, but I also think that what you're touching on, which is our ultimate goal and the real low bearing fruit that you can really get, the lowest bearing fruit, is the people that we get after we've established ourselves and established our brand and established we have that reputation. Because if you have a reputation and you're in a specific area and you're able to find those high percentage sales in your own backyard, once you get to that point, you probably wouldn't want to use your time going to a place where they've never heard of you and they have no faith in you, and you don't have any installs in the neighborhood that you can point to or anything like that. It's just what was that?
because it's a lower percentage than if you stay in your neighborhood where you've increased the percentage, right?
Right.
It's not smart, but it is refreshing sometimes, but it's not necessarily the smartest.
Yeah, well, it's just different. I mean, it's once again, I keep talking about it like the industry grow. There's the way it's the way of solar, the way of doing solar that a lot of people are frustrated with is the one that kind of leaves that bad taste in customers' mouths. And until we get more companies and more sales reps that are like putting their name and their reputation on the line with every single install, that is kind of the same thing where once you do that, you won't have to travel and go to new markets it might be fun, it might be good to do eventually, but at the same time, it might not be the most efficient use of your time. And once again, build like little things like building a reputation, getting reviews on Google, getting referrals, like those types of things only will really happen when they know you, when they like you, when they trust you. And when they do that, you have more leverage with any homeowner if you're in their vicinity than you would if you go to a brand new market. And then when you go to a brand new market too, if you don't have, if your pitch, that's a lot of times too, they're looking for quick and easy. Their pitch is only saving money. And if you're saving money and you're not necessarily trying to help the homeowners where they're at, you're trying to see if they meet the criteria and then telling them basically like what the next steps are. But it is interesting because neither of us have a problem with blitzes, but I think there's definitely, I think a lot of times people that are doing blitzes, but they don't have the end goal of like stopping blitzes. Like I think that should be a goal eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It would be interesting if you could somehow do like maybe longer term blitzes where you're able to really go establish yourself in an area and then you're able to switch markets but still maintain your business and brand. I don't think it would be possible, but it'd be interesting if someone could try it.
It'd be expensive, housing. Vivint did that model with home security for quite some time and tried it in solar, but it was expensive.
It would almost be like a franchise model or something, where you go and you establish a local group or office franchise, and then you're able to move to the next place and all that kind of stuff. But anyways, Jake, man, I know I've taken up a lot of your time. I appreciate you. Obviously are a wealth of knowledge. Oh, I was going to tell you one thing because I was looking for that Zig Ziglar quote, and then I found two. That guy has the best quotes of all time. But two quotes that I found when I was looking for the one. This one I thought was interesting. For every sale you miss because you're too enthusiastic, you will miss 100 because you're not enthusiastic enough.
Hey, there you go.
So that's a good one because that's it reminds me of Elon Musk. I think he had a quote that was like, "I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than be pessimistic and right." And like, I don't know if that was his quote, but I think I heard him say that that I think it was like the one time he went on Clubhouse or something. I think he said something like that. But then, yeah, it's just interesting. It's like the amount of sales that you lose because you're not enthusiastic enough. I mean, you'd rather overshoot with enthusiasm. You're going to rub maybe a few people the wrong way, but overall it's going to give you a lot better results. And then the second one, people often say motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. It's funny, man. Yeah, dude, Zig Ziglar's the man. A lot of books, a lot of good quotes. But Jake, thank you. For anyone who wants to reach out to you or talk to you or learn more about SolarCon and the Solar Academy, obviously you got a lot of stuff going on. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, I do want to say first, thank you very much for having me on here. And I apologize for taking some time to get on. But I suppose the best way they can reach me is, through Facebook, any of our groups, Solar Objection, Solar Advice, or even your group if you'd like. And then, messaging me on there. Support at thesolaracademy.com is one of the emails that I check the most. We have events. We have a lot of emails, but I check support the most at thesolaracademy.com. And then we have support at solarcon.com. SolarCon's domain is attendsolarcon.com. But we're posting in a lot of places. So hopefully people can reach out to me that way. My personal email is jake.hess24@gmail.com. So I don't mind people having that. If they have my phone numbers, they can share it with each other. I like to be involved in the community.
Yeah, just reach out. I mean, I think I'm always intrigued when someone's like in the public domain and they at the same time they're not necessarily accessible. So that's one of the things that I like about people like you and other people that I admire is when they find ways to make themselves as accessible as possible with the amount of people that might be interested in that. But overall, I mean, if you haven't heard about SolarCon or the Solar Academy, I guarantee you're probably going to hear about it soon, because those are some pretty exciting stuff. Jake, thank you again for your time, man, and providing the value as always. And I look forward to doing it again sometime. Hopefully not, we won't have to wait quite as long. We'll get another one of these in a few months or something. But I appreciate you, and I hope you have an awesome day.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it.
All right.